It's been a while since we've heard from UFC bantamweight contender Cory Sandhagen, who's kind enough to join me today. Cory, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. We haven't seen you in action since October, which is not a crazy layoff or anything like that by any means. But what have the past few months looked like for you?
Um, what have I been doing? I've been trying to just get better every day. I had like a little foot surgery. I just had like some chipped off bones that had been in my foot for a while. I had them taken out. So I was kind of on the sidelines for a few weeks. And then, yeah, just getting better. What have I been doing? I'm training with Rafian Stotts next week in Houston to help him get ready for his match. Training with Ryan Hall a little bit last month or 2 months ago or so. So just training with a lot of different people, same old stuff.
Oh, awesome! And that surgery you just mentioned, was that kind of a nagging thing that you've wanted to do for a while and just got the time to do it, or is that
Yeah,
something
yeah.
happy?
It's been a pain in the ass for like 2 years now, maybe. But I just had like a lot of momentum going, so I never wanted to get the surgery. But then, now seemed like a good time. So it wasn't like a structural, like major thing, but it is kind of like taking its time and getting better. Like right now, it kind of feels like how it did before. And I had it maybe 6 or 7 weeks ago. So I'm hoping it's going to get a little bit better or a lot better here pretty soon.
I'm sure it must have bothered you in practice. Maybe in the fight there's adrenaline pumping, but was it something that was like kind of bothering your day to day in terms of practices and all that?
Yeah, but not enough to like. Yeah, it did. It was becoming like a major pain in the ass. Like the arthritis just kept getting worse and worse and worse, and I knew it was just something I had to get done. That was just going to put me out for a little bit. So I just kind of took my time getting it done. And other days were better than others. And but yeah, they took a bunch of bones out. I have a couple pictures. The bones are actually kind of nasty. Like everything that was in that little joint was kind of crazy.
Feel free to send them. I know people love love looking at that gory stuff. But yeah, I mean, you kick a lot, so I'm sure this is something that feels good. I know nobody likes to take some time off or anything like that, but getting to do something like that. But you're saying you're not even like 100% from it now, like recovery wise.
uh, I mean, I can still do stuff, or at least I still am doing stuff. It's not like I said, it kind of just feels like how it did before, which isn't the greatest, but I think it'll get better. I have like way more range of motion, so now I feel like my muscles and tendons and stuff in my feet are just trying to get used to that new range of motion. So maybe that's where some of the soreness is coming from, but I'm getting it worked on. It'll be good probably. I don't know. Hopefully in like 3 or 4 weeks, I won't even have to like bring it up ever again in my life, which is what I'm hoping for.
So I'm assuming, is that kind of one of the reasons why we haven't seen you get a fight book? Like I said, 5 months is not a crazy amount of time or anything. I'm not trying to make it sound like that, but is that kind of what has slightly perhaps delayed you getting back into action?
Uh, a little bit, but also, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of wanted to take some months and just improve my game. It's a little bit difficult to be inside of a camp and work on new things, and because you're tailoring everything to one specific opponent. So, no, I've had a few months to actually like add things into my game, and that's going really well. So, um, that was kind of the main motivator. Honestly, after the TJ fight is when I felt like I kind of needed to like rest my nervous system a little bit. I think that I had a lot of momentum and things were going really good, and I was riding a wave, and now it just feels right in my life to kind of slow down and just improve on things that I've been trying to improve on for a really long time and make that the focus of my training. And then that way, when I hop back into the cage, I can be, a way, way more improved version of myself.
And you got that call to fight Petr Yan, which I'm sure is not something that you would have turned down. But looking back, like how many times have you watched that fight?
I haven't watched it in a little bit now, but I don't know. I can't really put a number on it. Maybe like 10 or 15 times.
Okay, it's quite a lot, and
Yeah.
I mean, look, it was a great fight. I mean, it was one of my favorite fights of the year. Just very very high level stuff, and you obviously had a great start. He started to take a bit of control afterwards. What were your main takeaways from that loss?
My main takeaways. There's obviously like some technical things I need to improve on a little bit more in order for me to beat him the next time that I fight him. But honestly, I'm kind of proud of the way that I did. I took it on 5 weeks' notice. I did my best. I had a really smooth weight cut. I thought I focused really well, even when I was kind of in a place where I maybe wasn't, like I said, was just trying to rest my nervous system and maybe focus on life a little bit more than I was trying to focus on fighting. So I'm glad that I was able to like rally and do a really good job in that fight, especially given that I didn't have a ton of time to get ready for someone as good as Petr Yan. So I was happy with, kind of happy with how I did, I suppose. I think that I was doing really well in the fight. I think that I was fighting him the way that I needed to be fighting him, and then got dropped late in that third round, and that kind of changed the fight because in the fourth, I don't know how many people could kind of tell, but I was kind of on wobbly legs in the fourth. Like I remember specifically like getting hit a couple times and being like, why is my brain not reacting to this? So me getting dropped in the third, I think kind of messed up my fourth round. And then in the fifth, I had to go in knowing that I had taken a bunch of damage in the fourth round just because I was rocked and on wobbly legs, and had to fight a little bit different for that reason too. So, had that not happen, I think I would be champ, but good on Yan for, taking advantage of me having my hands down.
And the loss to Yan, the loss to TJ, again, it's like you can't get discouraged, right? Because you performed well. I mean, they're good performances. So when you look at that, I mean, the record, yeah, I mean, I'm sure it sucks to have two losses, but you performed very well. So when you look at those, you don't get discouraged, right? Like you try to, build yourself, you learn, but it kind of shows where you're at in this division, right?
Yeah, there's after a loss, there's like there's things where it's like, oh, you got beat because the guy was way better, and then there's times when you watch yourself lose and you're like, oh, those are very fixable problems. I think even in between the Dillashaw fight and the Yan fight, I was able to make like some really easy corrections. Like I'm kind of a thoughtful person when it comes to my game, so it doesn't take me a ton of time to like fix things. So I think the issues that I had with Yan are super fixable. The ways that I can beat Yan the next time I fight him are going to be very doable. And same goes for TJ, and same goes for, everyone else. I guess the only other person that I lost to in Sterling, and that was just kind of a shit show of a fight for myself. But definitely learned from that one too. I think I proved to everyone. But yeah, all of the issues were fixable. All of these guys are very beatable by me. I really think that if I like grind and work my ass off as hard as I can for the rest of my career, I think that I can be at the very, very top for a very long time.
Speaking of Sterling, I'm pretty sure I've asked you this question before, with like what you think of Yan and Sterling. I don't know if it was before the first fight or the second fight or what stage, but I don't know if you've like changed your mind or anything. But the fight's very soon. How do you see the fight between Petr Yan and Aljamain Sterling coming out?
I don't know. I think Sterling's always dangerous because he is such a good grappler. And I think Yan is super dangerous because he punches hard as hell. I think Yan is likely the more well-rounded guy. But I think if Yan goes in thinking that he's just gonna crush him because of the way that the last fight went, I think that would be a huge mistake on Yan's part. But I don't think he's that poor of a competitor. I think that he's gonna go in and do really well again and not let the last fight impact him. And I think Yan is just kind of a better all-around competitor also than Sterling is. So, but that being said, Sterling's a very good fighter. He's a very good competitor, and he's a good grappler. So there's always that. But I don't know. I don't really give a shit, honestly. Like I kind of just have just been really, really in my own lane. It makes no difference to me who wins that one.
But I like that answer. But strategically speaking, from the first fight, do you feel like Sterling has a lot to change? Do you think the way he approached Yan the first fight, do you think he needs to change something? Because it seemed like Yan started to take control before the illegal knee.
Okay, so I think if I'll say what maybe I would do if I was him. If I was him, I would definitely change the pace that I was fighting. He was like, it was a little bit chaotic, but it also threw Yan off a lot too. So that was a positive that came from that. But you saw in the later rounds that was definitely not going to be something that would have benefited him in rounds 4 and 5. I forget what round he got knocked out in, but yeah, if I was Sterling, I would definitely change the pace of the fight. I would, not try to make it as frantic as he kind of made it in the first one. And then if I was Yan, I would probably do the exact same thing that he did in the first one, because if Aljamain slows down the pace, that just means that Yan gets to fight at a less chaotic pace, which I think Yan does really well in. So, yeah, they both definitely have some corrections to make.
Were you surprised to see Yan being able to take Aljamain down? I know Aljamain came into the fight saying that he didn't feel very well and stuff like that, but were you surprised to see Yan kind of shook off Aljamain and be able to take him down multiple times?
Not really. I think Jan's pretty good at wrestling. Like it's really easy in the sport of MMA just to kind of like pick one thing that a guy stands out in and then say that that's what he's really good at, and and everything else is second and third. But I don't really think that that's the case with the guys at the top. It is for some of them, but it's not for all of them. And I think Yan is known for his striking, but I don't think that that means that he's by any means inadequate at grappling by any means. So. No, I wasn't really surprised, just like how I probably wouldn't be too surprised if Sterling went out there and like maybe caught Yan. Like I could definitely see that happening. I think at the top, MMA doesn't really work like that anymore. I think it's more of like, yeah, people have their things and their like environments that they prefer to fight in, but everyone can kind of fight in all environments, I think, at this point.
Yeah, definitely. And it was recently announced that Rob Font is going to fight Marlon Vera. Rob Font was saying that he thought maybe he would fight you. He was surprised with the Marlon Vera announcement. How about you? Was Rob Font on your radar? Was this a fight that you thought maybe would have been next for you?
Maybe. I was kind of hoping for Aldo or Cruz, because those guys kind of have a lot of juice, and that's kind of how this business works a little bit. So I'm still hoping for Aldo or Cruz. I think that will set me up very nicely for maybe like 2 more wins, and then I get a fight for the belt again. So, but yeah, I Font too. I at this point, I'm like, man, I haven't tasted a win since I beat Edgar. I would really like to win. I also know that I'm very capable of beating anyone in the division also. So, it really doesn't matter to me. Merab is very up there too. But like I said, Merab kind of doesn't have the same juice that Aldo and Cruz do, and that's kind of the way that the game works a little bit. So I'm going to try to get a Aldo or a Cruz fight going.
They're not just big names. They're coming off of very big wins as well. I mean, Aldo looked very impressive against Rob Font, and Dominick Cruz looked very impressive against Petr Munoz. I'll start with Dominick Cruz. Did you watch his fight with Petr Munoz, and what did you think of his performance? He had to rally a bit to win that.
Yeah. I only caught the end of that one. But yeah, I mean, Cruz and Aldo, honestly, are just both like seasoned veterans, which I think in a sport where experience is extremely important, I would really like to test myself against those guys. So, and I have the utmost respect for the both of them. Like anyone that stays in the sport, as long as those two have, I know they must really, really love it. So, I appreciate those types of fighters, not to hate on the other guys that kind of leave when they're more at their prime and this and that. Like I'm not hating on that path either, but I do just have like a special appreciation for the guys that stick around for a really long time. And I don't think that they're super past their primes. They've just been around for a really long time. And I would just really like to test myself against someone who's that seasoned and that experienced.
Do you have a preference, Aldo or Cruz, if you could pick?
I think I really want to fight Cruz before he retires, Aldo too, though, like, I kind of, I get like a lot of people saying that like me and, Cruz are very paralleled and, our styles and this and that, but I love Aldo's style too. Like I have been a student of Aldo and Cruz for a very long time. If I did have a preference, I would go with Cruz because I think that that would just be like a right time, right place type of thing. Like I'm ranked number 4. He's ranked number 7. We both probably have 1 or 2 fights until we can fight for a belt again. He's coming off of a good win. I'm coming off of a loss that was super controversial against one of the better guys who have ever played the game, and then a short notice loss for a title. So I think by no means have I lost any stock in the last year. And I hope that that gets acknowledged when people are making their decisions about what they want to do with the division.
Yeah, and I'll leave you one last question. I appreciate your time. Timeline-wise, what's kind of the perfect return date for you?
Probably sometime in July. I really want this damn foot to get better. But also, I'm just gonna take full advantage of me getting better. But I will say it hasn't the idea of a fight hasn't been put on the back burner as much probably in the last couple weeks. I think because my toe is probably feeling a little better. You know, maybe the weather is getting a little bit nicer out here. I have been feeling a sense of urge to, you know, get back in the cage and perform. But probably sometime in the summer. Definitely not in the fall or anything like that. It'll definitely be this summer.
Are you hoping to fight in front of fans? I know you got a portion of that UFC 267, but it seems like even fight nights are back in front of fans at Columbus tomorrow. So would you like to, are you hoping you get to compete in front of fans?
Yeah, that would be great. I would hope that we're kind of done with this like no fans thing forever. Uh Fingers crossed. Who knows what's going to happen in the future now in this world, but yeah, I mean, definitely. I don't really foresee any more no fan fights, so that's really great.
Yeah. Well, Cory, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate you taking the time. It's good to hear from you. Looking forward to seeing what's next for you. Aldo, Cruz, I think those would be both great fights that fans would really be excited about. So let's see how they match make you.
Cool. Thanks, Farah.